Good evening, I'm Adrian Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. Tonight, a killer is identified in a murder that stunned the nation decades ago.
If he were alive today, the Toronto Police Service would arrest Calvin Hoover for the murder of Christine Jessop.
Finally, answers for a family grieving for more than 30 years.
Plus, the science that helped police track down Christine Jessop's killer.
This is an NBC News 20.
Biden and Trump and their dueling town halls. We'll have all the key moments.
And more, American executives are allowed to skip Canada's mandatory 14-day quarantine.
It undermines Canadians' confidence in equitable decision-making.
A CBC News investigation. This is The National.
Tonight, the rape and murder of a 9-year-old girl in 1984 is solved at last.
The killing of Christine Jessop gripped this country for decades and ruined lives, not just those of the people who knew and loved Christine. That's because investigators falsely accused a neighbor, Paul Marin. He was convicted and went to jail. Advances in DNA technology ultimately proved he was not the attacker. Now police say another scientific leap has identified the real killer. Paul Marin told CBC News today, "The justice system failed me, but science saved me." There is an awful lot to sort through here. David Common begins with the stunning announcement by police and reaction from the Jessop family.
36 years, nearly to the day after the murder, this was a moment many had given up on.
If he were alive today, the Toronto Police Service would arrest Calvin Hoover.
The 28-year-old was a neighbor and friend of the Jessop family. He would have known Christine stepped off the bus here every day. Police say he took her, sexually assaulted, and killed the 9-year-old.
Our investigators met with Christine's mother this morning, and they continue to be with her at this moment.
Back in 1984, it was a community horror. Just north of Toronto, hundreds joined the search, thousands distraught when her body was found months later. But Hoover was never a suspect. Instead, another neighbor, Paul Marin, was arrested, adding another tragedy to the tale, a wrongful conviction and a decade to clear his name. Marin today says, "I am relieved for Christine's family, and I was sure that one day DNA would reveal the real killer. And now it has." Christine's father, Bob, told CBC News today he felt sickened, adding that as he got older, he wondered when things were going to happen.
We are all genuinely relieved that the person actually responsible for this has finally been identified.
To crack the case all these years later, Toronto police appear to have been the first in Canada to use a new process called genetic genealogy.
We were able to submit a sample of the semen stain that was located on Christine Jessop's underwear to a laboratory in the United States.
That sample was then compared to a vast database of genetic sequences, not just criminals, but of customers searching for their own genealogy. That process led to likely relatives of the suspect.
The second family tree produced Calvin Hoover.
So David, you're at Toronto Police headquarters. Can you talk with us a little bit about Calvin Hoover? What do you know about him?
Well, first off, we are told by sources that Hoover died by suicide 5 years ago. And when investigators got in touch with his family, they were shocked. Back in 1984, the killer's wife worked with the victim's dad. They all hung out. Their kids played together, and yet he was never a suspect. Even now, detectives are still trying to piece together what Hoover did in the decades between the murder and his own death. And that, Adrian, means that the investigation into one of the most tangled, horrible homicides in Canadian history is still ongoing.
All right, David Common in Toronto. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Now, you heard David mention the cutting-edge technology that helped investigators zero in on who really killed Christine Jessop. Joanna Remiliotta shows us how genetic genealogy put them on a murderer's trail.
There was always evidence linking Calvin Hoover to Christine Jessop's murder, just not the science to prove it.
In relation to Calvin Hoover, we've utilized an investigative technique that is fairly new in policing, certainly in Canada.
The technique is called genetic genealogy, and it started with a decades-old semen sample found on the victim's underwear. Police sent the sample to this forensic lab in Texas. It cross-referenced it to a DNA database with samples by people who have given permission for their information to be accessed by law enforcement agencies. That's how a genetic family tree started to form.
If you find pieces of DNA that are large and shared between two people, there's a hypothesis that they probably came from a common ancestor. And so you look for multiple genetic matches, and it may be an uncle or maybe someone else. It's different every time.
The tree gave Toronto police a new starting point in a cold case.
It provides a potential, and I must stress a potential, family lineage from a DNA sample. Then it is up to a police investigator to build from that potential family lineage.
Police built a new list of persons of interest by cross-referencing the names in the family tree to old case files. That's how Calvin Hoover's name popped up.
The name Calvin Hoover, upon review of the investigative file, is a name that we know had a connection to the Jessop family.
By coincidence, Hoover's DNA was on record from an autopsy performed after his death in 2015. Police were able to test it against the sample found at the crime scene. And that's when finally, decades later, they identified the real murderer.
You know, when we talk about a cold case and the value of a cold case unit, we're just not going to give up, and somebody is always going to be looking.
Looking, and with more hope now, of catching the real criminals too. Joanna Roumeliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
And later on The National, we'll hear from Clayton Ruby, the prominent lawyer who defended Paul Marin. He'll talk about the legacy of that case and his own reaction to today's stunning development.
Turning now to U.S. politics, and 2 weeks after a presidential debate many called an unmitigated disaster, the candidates were at it again tonight, selling competing visions on competing U.S. networks at the same time.
I denounce white supremacy. Okay. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats.
And what's he doing? Nothing. He's still not wearing masks and so on.
So President Trump was on NBC, Joe Biden on ABC. Hard to believe both aired at once, but it is 2020. And so we have had to divide and conquer with these dueling events. Paul Hunter watched Donald Trump's town hall. Katie Simpson tracked the Joe Biden event. So, Paul, let's start with you and the president. Last time he unleashed, fire, fury, some contempt for Joe Biden. What about tonight?
Well, he was fiery and furious, or so it seemed. Look, there was plenty thrown at Donald Trump tonight. His handling of the pandemic, his plans for health care, his tax returns. You name it. I'm going to say not an awful lot was learned, but it was pretty lively. He sure seemed energized. And when he got punched, he punched back. I want to play a couple of clips. First, on something a lot of people here are worried about. That is, if he loses on election night, will he accept a peaceful transfer of power? He said that's what he wants to see, but he seemed to leave open what could happen if it's not a fair election, as he suggested in the past. Keep in mind, there's never been any evidence of significant electoral fraud in this country. Nonetheless, he took a shot at Democrats on this and, in effect, said, we'll see. Here's the clip.
They talk about the peaceful transfer, right? They spied on my campaign and they got caught, and they spied heavily on my campaign, and they tried to take down a duly elected sitting president. And then they talk about, will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else. Peaceful transfer, I absolutely want that, but ideally I don't want to transfer because I want to win.
Now, one of the off-the-wall, hot-button issues he talked about was QAnon, and this kind of got him going. For those who don't know, QAnon is an online group that promotes ugly conspiracy theories. For example, that certain Democrats and others in the so-called deep state are satanic-worshipping pedophiles. Goes the thinking. People who believe that stuff won't vote for Democrats. It's been completely debunked, but Trump has promoted that. He was asked tonight why. Here's some of that.
I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy, I denounce it. You start off with something else, let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you, what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that.
Keep in mind that right now Trump is far behind in the polls and he is running out of time. Adrian, 18 days left to campaign and one debate with Joe Biden left to sort it all out. We'll see.
All right, Paul Hunter in Washington, thanks very much. So now Katie Simpson watched the other side for us this evening. Katie, was the tone at Biden's event any different?
Well, it was exactly like a traditional town hall you'd see before the Trump era. Questions from voters, answers about policy, and Joe Biden laying out his vision for the country. His main goal tonight was to make sure he maintains his lead in the polls by not having any major unforced errors. He stuck to his talking points. He made his closing argument to voters by attacking the president's handling of COVID.
The words of a president matter.
Absolutely.
No matter whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, they matter. And when a president doesn't wear a mask or makes fun of folks like me when I was wearing a mask for a long time, then, people say, well, it mustn't be that important.
This town hall was far less combative than the last debate or even Trump's event. Biden followed up with voters to see if he'd answered their questions to their satisfaction and even stuck around to answer questions for another 30 minutes after.
Okay, so it seems he might be leading in the polls, but he was asked about what happens if he doesn't win. What did he say?
Well, the Biden campaign is trying to do everything it can to not appear too confident and too cocky. They need to make sure the base shows up on Election Day, and they need to really make sure that they mobilize that team. But the U.S. is so divided right now, and Biden offered a very candid response about what happens and what it says about the state of the country if he loses.
I could say that I'm a lousy candidate and I didn't do a good job. But I think, I hope that it doesn't say that we are as racially, ethnically, and religiously at odds with one another as it appears the president wants us to be.
Biden says if he is elected, he vows to be the president for the people who did vote for him, as well as the people who did not vote for him. As he returns to the campaign trail, he's going to be trying to do everything he can to protect his lead in the national polls and try and run out that clock.
All right, thank you, Katie. Katie Simpson at her home in Washington tonight, as you do. CBC's presidential poll tracker showed the Biden-Harris ticket with a roughly 10-point lead in popular support heading into tonight's town halls, with a significant advantage in the Electoral College as well. But just like 2016, that could change quickly. To keep up with all the twists and turns, go to cbcnews.ca/US poll tracker.
Well, a new development now on a CBC News investigation we brought you last month. It revealed how executives from an American company were allowed to enter Canada without going into quarantine. And now CBC News has learned of another case. Jonathan Gatehouse has that story.
In late August, a private jet landed in Ottawa. On it, American CEO of Costco, Craig Jelinek, and Executive Vice President Joe Portera. Here to visit new stores, they were allowed to skip Canada's mandatory 14-day quarantine. Border Service agents deemed their travel to be essential. The executives traveled between Ontario and Quebec and then on to Alberta, hitting some of this country's COVID hotspots before heading home 3 days later. Now the Canada Border Services Agency concedes that shouldn't have happened. Emailing CBC News, a subsequent review concluded that the travel of the Costco executives should have been categorized as discretionary and entry denied. An error, but not a one-off. It happened the same day as another example reported by CBC News last month. U.S. billionaire Liz Uline and two other Uline executives arrived in Toronto on a private jet and were given a quarantine exemption for meetings at their Milton office, said Minister of Public Safety Bill Blair at the time.
Those people should not have been admitted.
CBSA says it's not aware of any other cases like these.
Our worry is that it undermines Canadians' confidence in equitable decision-making, in whether or not the rules apply to everyone equally.
In a statement to CBC News, Costco said the executives respected all COVID-19 protocols, including social distancing and wearing face masks, and neither has tested positive for COVID-19. CBSA says no prior approval was granted. The agent's decision was made on the spot. All part of the confusion surrounding exemptions, says this corporate immigration lawyer.
It's not how it should work. I mean, there needs to be transparency, there needs to be criteria.
Ottawa says it's taken steps to prevent this from happening again and has since turned away executives in similar cases. Jonathan Gatehouse, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, now let's take a closer look at the number of new COVID-19 cases reported today. Quebec had 969, Ontario 783, but let's zero in on Manitoba with 173. That's the third record high in a row for that province, and most of those new cases are in Winnipeg, 133 of them. The province's chief health officer is looking at new restrictions there, but not a total lockdown.
We're not going to red in Winnipeg as a total. We're still looking at certain sectors.
Details on those new restrictions are expected as early as tomorrow. Now, COVID-19 has created increased demand for flu shots, so much so that some offering the vaccine have run out. And as Susana De Silva shows us, folks are being told to be patient.
Your wait time will be approximately 1,735 minutes.
That is over 28 hours. It's the message Roberta Heron has been getting all week, trying to book her oldest in for a flu shot.
I was so shocked. I didn't expect it would be a wait like that.
Kids under 5 can only get shots at their doctor or local public health units. She left a callback number, but is still waiting.
I do expect that by the time I get an appointment, it'll probably be perhaps December or January.
In other health regions, the process is different, but the frustration is the same. Naomi McCormick has been waiting for her health authority's booking app to come online.
You know, it really feels like this is the 2020 version of trying to book the best concert, right?
It can be anywhere from 5 to 6 times the number of people actually trying to book compared to last year.
Higher demand and a slower process, this pharmacist says, is contributing to the inability to keep up. Instead of a shot every 2 minutes, COVID cleaning protocols now mean it's one every 10. Some of their stores' appointments are already booked for a month.
So last year was a sprint, where basically within about 2 weeks, anybody who wanted the vaccine were able to get vaccinated within about 2 to 3 weeks' time. This year, it's more of a marathon. We're going to be doing it probably for the next month and a half to 2 months.
But experts say don't panic. It is very early in the flu season.
It's good to have the mask on because I am not smiling right now.
Manitoba only officially launched its campaign today, while BC hasn't yet. And experts say they don't expect shortages.
First batch might be smaller for those sort of, as you say, vulnerable groups, but the supply is planned and managed, and everyone will get their flu shot. It's just a matter of being patient.
Naomi McCormick's persistence paid off as the app launched today and she was able to book for next week. Heron, though, will continue to need to be patient. Susana De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Tensions remain high in Nova Scotia over First Nations lobster harvest. Today, the Mi'kmaq leadership warned there could be more confrontations with commercial fishermen, saying they want the federal government to do more to protect their treaty right to fish. Evan Dyer explains.
After 2 nights of property destruction and conflict, the chief of the Sipakanakini First Nation says commercial fishermen are being allowed to attack band members.
They're all walking around believing that they can do whatever they want and get away with it and take the law into their own hands. And I'm starting to believe that's true.
Last night, the Prime Minister tweeted that violence and intimidation are unacceptable. And today, his Minister of Indigenous Services said the same, calling the violence racist. But on the ground in Nova Scotia, the federal government is mostly just absent, says the province.
We don't have any authority over the fishing industry. No matter how much I want to resolve this issue, I don't have any authority to do so. That's why it's critical for the national government to be there.
It would be great if he would lend his voice to calling for calm, because we're seeing a very awful situation in Digby County, and we need all voices to ask people to remain calm at this point.
But a large part of that problem is that for 20 years, the federal government has failed to set rules defining what the court meant when it said the Mi'kmaq have a right to a moderate livelihood from the fishery. Commercial fishermen accuse the Federal Department of Fisheries of failing to uphold its own conservation rules or enforce seasonal closures, putting the lobster stock at risk.
Our issues are not with each other or Indigenous versus non-Indigenous. Our issues are all with the minister and her lack of action. And the result is the chaos that we've seen this week in Nova Scotia.
As for Chief Sack, he says he's ready for more trouble.
So we have to take it into our own hands. We will. Like we have, every day I'm getting messages, should we come? The warriors come out of this province, that province. I'm holding them off to keep everything peaceful. But if there's no protection for us, we're going to have to go with the forces we need to.
Come get it! With all the pieces in place for more escalation, one thing both sides and the province agree on is that the federal government has been too hands-off and needs to get off the fence. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, we have a marketplace investigation for anyone looking for an appliance repair company.
As a customer, you deserve to know who you're dealing with.
Next on The National, what we found that now has Google promising to crack down.
And at issue is here with the politics of long-term care, why some provinces don't want Ottawa's help.
And the Queen steps out without a mask for her first pandemic public appearance.
I think today's was probably a bit of a one-off.
We're back in 2. Repairing a high-priced appliance can be a burden at the best of times. That's why many do their research and turn to Google Maps to find a good local technician for the job. A word of caution, though, from our team at Marketplace after finding a repair company linked to fake listings. And now Google promises to crack down. Magda Gabrisalasa has the details.
Okay, so here's the stove over here.
Joseph Renault needed a quick appliance fix, so he turned to Google Maps and found Ajax Appliance Repair just a few minutes away.
And they had really good reviews.
He agreed to the $75 service fee, but when the technician arrived, he was quoted $400 for parts and labor. He decided to think about it, then the company emailed him the quote.
Well, what threw me off with the email was it was a different appliance company that had responded.
It was Omega Appliance, a company based in a different city that has negative reviews with the Better Business Bureau. Complaints about pricey fixes, shoddy work, and confusing business names.
Well, I think it's unethical, and I think as a customer, you deserve to know who you're dealing with.
We wanted to know too.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any appliance company in here.
Turns out Omega Appliance has fake Google Map locations right across the country. We found the same thing with the locksmith industry earlier this year. Then it was FC Locksmith. Now it's Omega Appliance. We discovered they're owned by the same people. Last year, this expert said this harms consumers and
I think businesses have trouble competing because fake listings are crowding them out of the index.
We learned that all the calls from across the country are coming to this call center. We tried to speak with the owners, but they refused. Their lawyer said most locksmith and appliance repair services are mobile, and the company's location isn't relevant to getting quality service. And his clients didn't create the fake listings. They hire outside companies to promote services. Meanwhile, Google says it will now take action, auditing all appliance repair listings created in Canada. Renault took action too. He got the part needed for $50 and his tenant did the fixing. Magda Gabrisalasa, CBC News, Toronto.
And you can watch the full hidden camera investigation tomorrow night on Marketplace. That's at 8 p.m. on CBC Television, 8:30 in Newfoundland and Labrador, and on CBC Gem.
And an update now on another investigation we brought you earlier this week. The Canadian Kennel Club says it will be cleaning up its registered breeders list.
If you have a CKC registration, if you're a qualified breeder, to me, that puts you in a higher esteem than someone who's not.
So this promise comes after CBC News revealed the popular puppy list directory was unvetted and contained individuals with questionable practices. The club says Anastasia Kobzun, who had been featured on that directory, has now been removed after she was found selling sick and imported dogs. Policies related to the directory will also be reviewed. So we're going to return to tonight's top story, a notorious Canadian murder finally solved.
If he were alive today, the Toronto Police Service would arrest Calvin Hoover for the murder of Christine Jessop.
Next, insight from a man who knows the case well, lawyer Clayton Ruby, who defended the man once wrongfully convicted of the crime.
And later on The National, the Queen's first public appearance of the pandemic. Is it a sign of what's to come?
Welcome back. For many Canadians, the disappearance and murder of 9-year-old Christine Jessop remains a vivid memory, despite the fact it was 36 years ago. Vivid, too, is the arrest and eventual exoneration of her neighbor, Paul Marin. In a moment, I'll speak with Clayton Ruby, the lawyer who defended him. But first, here's a reminder of how that awful episode played out. 9-year-old Christine Jessop's family always said they knew immediately something wasn't right. Her bike was there against the house. She'd used it to go get candy after school, like she did every day. Her jacket was inside, but she was gone. Not outside, not at friends. The call to police came fast. And the search came quickly. The whole town showing up.
If I do see something, I stop and look.
Her protective, panicked mother then searching on her own.
The devastation of the not knowing is really what tears you apart.
Moran lives next door to the Jessop family.
It also wasn't long before questions were asked about the neighbor, Paul Marin. He was arrested on his way to band practice less than a year after Christine disappeared, and only a few months after her body was found by a family searching for a lost dog. Police seem so sure about Morin.
In any investigation of this magnitude, I suppose that what you do is you don't concentrate on anybody so much as you eliminate people. And probably we got to the point, the investigators got to the point where they couldn't eliminate this man.
Realizing they should have eliminated him, that he was not Christine Jessop's killer, came far too late for everyone. The real murderer escaping accountability, Paul Marin losing his liberty and reputation, and the Jessop family exhausted, traumatized, and in mourning for 36 years. So I'm joined now by Clayton Ruby. He was the defense lawyer for Paul Marin, the man wrongfully convicted in the death of Christine Jessop. So thank you for joining us. You know, the wrongful conviction of Paul Marin is clearly one of Canada's, I guess, most notorious miscarriages of justice. So I'm wondering, all these years later, to hear the police have named the actual killer, what's the range of things that are going through you now?
Mostly it's relief on behalf of Guy Paul. It's wonderful to be cleared by the Ontario Court of Appeal, but that's a legal judgment. And there are people who don't trust the system in the sense that, well, if he didn't do it, who did? So it's wonderful to be able to answer that question and later arrest anybody who wasn't convinced by the Court of Appeal judgment. We now know who did it. And it wasn't Guy Paul. He did nothing wrong.
But he's been fighting to preserve that and remind people of that for so long.
I know, and that's the tragedy of a wrongful conviction. You never recover. It's never the same as it was before. You can't erase those, in this case, years of struggling against a prosecution who says you're guilty and you murdered this little girl and raped her. But the emotional impact of that must be just wonderful for him. And I'm really pleased that this has happened.
You know, it's been interesting to hear today that the police say that Calvin Hoover was not on their radar. I gather he was not on your radar either. So I'm guessing you are left with a whole lot of questions tonight.
Yes, the principal question is, why did it take so long for the police to come up with this technique? It's nothing fancy. It's checking those databases that take your ancestry into account, and then you find a near relative. But why was it so late? That's been an open secret for about 5, 6, 7 years.
And in terms of policing and the law, as you look at this case now, what did it change in Canada?
I think it made a huge difference in terms of Canadians' understanding of the justice system. We tend to trust prosecutors who say, convict this man. We have enough evidence to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And that puts you behind the 8 ball if you're an accused person. It's an overwhelming disadvantage that isn't written into the law but exists in a real sense. We trust authority. And I think this case made it clear to people that there are mistakes and that they can be huge and inexplicable. So that it was a more skeptical approach to prosecution claims. And I think that's a healthy thing. It makes us all safer.
All right, Clayton Ruby, thank you very much.
Nice to talk to you.
Okay, next on The National, Rosie's here with At Issue.
Andrew, we're going to take a closer look at the federal government's promise to develop national standards in long-term care. Ottawa wants to start the conversation. They did today, but are the provinces on board? Chantal, Andrew, and Althea will break down the challenges right ahead.
I don't think there should be some regions of the country that offer better or worse protections to elders than others. I think that's why the time has come for a conversation between the federal government and the provinces on harmonizing and establishing norms for long-term care right across the country.
Ottawa says it wants to move forward on its promise to create new national standards for long-term care homes. But as you can imagine, not all premiers may feel the same way. So can a unified approach work? How do governments make sure the same mistakes aren't made again when it comes to long-term care? It's Thursday, and I'm here with That Issue, Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. I'm going to start with you this week, Chantal. So we know that this was discussed today, their regular Thursday call. It's something that was in the throne speech. We heard the Prime Minister there. I am not sure how receptive provinces would be to this. How do you think those conversations will go?
We also know from echoes from that phone conference between First Ministers that it's not really going down anywhere with any premier. There was no provincial buy-in. At this point, the federal intentions are vague. And a couple of points. One, the federal government doesn't have any on-the-ground expertise to fix long-term care. Two, each province has a different situation. What may be a priority in Quebec and Ontario, maybe not, or a different situation in PEI or Manitoba. I'm just drawing this at this point. And three, the federal government does not have the power to set the rules for home care or for home older care. It has its only power is the spending power. So it can say, if you don't do this and that, I'm going to withdraw funds. That doesn't sound like much of a solution when you have a crisis in healthcare.
It's true, Andrew, that they have the money. And it would be clear that in some provinces, they don't have the solutions. Ontario and Quebec would be obviously the two blatant examples. So would it not be wise for provinces to at least consider this?
I don't see why there's a federal role here, frankly, other than to give Mr. Trudeau something to talk about. This isn't like climate change, where the actions of provinces have spillover effects, not just for other provinces, but for the planet, and where there's a clear incentive for one province to free ride on the others. This is something that is entirely self-contained to each province, and the provincial governments are accountable to their citizens for the way in which they either well manage or poorly manage their long-term care homes. One of the things that's bedeviled the whole pandemic response is the lack of clarity at times about who's responsible for what. That allows each level of government to sort of point the finger at the other. That's been the case with healthcare for many decades, where this kind of each of them getting involved just blurs accountability. I think we don't need more of that. We need less of that.
I mean, it is a shared jurisdiction, but I should say that earlier this week, the Quebec Premier, Althea, said that Trudeau was playing with fire and that he was making a mistake. I mean, I'm not sure Quebec is interested in this, but how do you get buy-in then if that is already the reception?
Well, the federal government has said that they're willing to put a lot of money on the table in order to get the outcomes that they would like. If you look at the 2017 agreements that were signed with the provinces, or at least they were started to negotiate in 2017, and some of them were signed in 2017, some like Manitoba were signed in 2019. But on home care, you see that there is a patchwork of different agreements. So there are bilateral agreements. Ontario's agreement with the federal government is very distinct. It has benchmarks and targets and deliverable outcomes. And Quebec's agreement basically says we're an asymmetrical agreement and we're not going to agree to anything. You just give us money and you acknowledge that we can use it the way that we would like to use it based on targets and benchmarks that we set ourselves. And we're not even going to agree to a dispute settlement mechanism. So there is a pathway that already exists that the federal government could mimic when it comes to long-term care homes that would allow Quebec to say, we got money and we got to do what we wanted with it. And Ontario to say, we got money and based on the targets that we've negotiated with the federal government, we are using it in the way that we would like to see fit. I mean, the federal government has spent energy on like best case guidance scenarios for long-term care homes. They had a report in June on the best practices. So it's not that there isn't a role for the federal government. Lots of people have been criticizing the federal government for shirking its fiscal responsibilities when it comes to healthcare. And here Ottawa is saying, hey, we want to give you money. Tell us how we can give you money.
Yeah, it just seems though, Chantal, too, that the provinces, particularly Ontario and Quebec, are in a weakened position given the way they have managed long-term care.
But the real issue isn't political, who looks weak and who looks strong. The real issue is who has the know-how to manage long-term care and who doesn't. And the last time I checked, the federal government does not run any long-term care homes on that basis. And on the basis of accountability, if there is a real screw-up in long-term care in Ontario and Quebec, better that the buck stops with the province and voters can take it on whoever is in power than to have this diffused between the federal government that is setting standards. On what basis, I'm not too sure, because there is not a national long-term care situation. So no, it just looks to me like the federal government is trying to piggyback on an issue because it would look popular and not have to be accountable for the outcome at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Andrew. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's no doubt that there's been a failure of government when it comes to the oversight of long-term care homes. But to say that that's a provincial versus federal thing, that the feds would somehow have done a better job, I don't think there's any evidence for that, and certainly there isn't any jurisdiction for it. Again, let's look at this in the context of healthcare in general. The provinces are being eaten alive by the costs of healthcare. That's going to continue for the decades to come with the aging of the population. That entails much more longer term and larger discussions about transfer of financial resources, transfer of tax points. Would be a much better solution to give the provinces the resources they need without having to come to Uncle Ottawa every time to negotiate the conditions on it, again, involving this blurring of accountability. I do think the feds are in a position to act, if they're going to make that kind of long-term transfer, to start talking about other issues like, for example, the internal common market, which is absolutely a federal role that the feds have not exercised. So some kind of grand bargain like that, I think, makes a lot more sense than getting into the weeds of micromanaging long-term care.
When you said tax points, I just imagined all the premier's eyes lighting up at the idea of that, even though it's a difficult one. Althea, do you think the provinces want it? Well, some might. What kind of leverage do you think the provinces have here?
Oh, sorry, Andrew wanted to finish.
Oh, sorry.
Just one last point. The premiers have cried wolf a lot of times about not having funds.
They have.
But in the context of the aging of the population, the wolf is here.
Okay, that's a good line. Althea, what kind of leverage do you think the provinces have in this?
Well, they don't have much leverage, but they have the right, and it's their jurisdiction to say, butt out. So they have the final say at the end of the day. Whether or not they want to turn their backs on money that's lying on the table is up to them. I think that public pressure will be so that they will end up getting money in some form regardless, frankly. So we shall see.
All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. If you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to At Issue, the podcast for extra content, including the panel's take on this story this week.
It has put a significant strain on Canada-China relations, and we will continue to highlight our concern for the Canadians detained.
Look for it on any major podcast app, our website, cbcnews.ca/thenational. And now I'll throw it back to Adrian and Andrew in Toronto.
And next on The National, a royal first during the pandemic. The Queen steps out into the public and sends a message to the people.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's Daily News podcast Front Burner, as Alberta's economy takes a beating, so too does Premier Jason Kenney's popularity. We look at how he could bounce back. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Well, Europe continues to deal with a rapid surge in COVID-19 cases. France added more than 30,000 infections in 24 hours. That's a record since the start of the epidemic. The president has imposed a nightly curfew in Paris and 8 other cities for at least a month, starting this weekend. And the British government is set to impose a stricter lockdown in London starting Saturday to tackle a surging second wave of infections. So this means more travel restrictions, pubs and bars shut, and no household mixing indoors in any setting.
Well, from the darkest days of war through periods of upheaval, the royals have strived to remain visible during national crises. But at 94, the Queen has spent most of the pandemic cooped up for her own protection. Well, today, the famously energetic monarch returned to the fray. Renee Filipponi explains.
With her grandson by her side, as close as he can be in COVID times, and no mask, the Queen was inquisitive as she got a lesson in explosive detection.
How long does it take to train a dog?
The high-profile facility investigated the Manchester bombings, Novichok poisoning in Salisbury, and is now part of the COVID-19 response.
But to be able to explain the passion and the dedication that we have for our work to some incredibly important people was very special.
The palace says it followed safety protocol and tested every staff member for the virus.
Every precaution that could have been taken was taken. That's why the Queen didn't have to wear a mask.
This royal correspondent says it was the right moment for the Queen to step out publicly.
I think it was a really important message for her to send that even though, we've been in lockdown and we are facing new restrictions, the Queen was still able to meet people involved in the COVID response.
The Queen suspended all public engagements and moved out of Buckingham Palace in mid-March to isolate with Prince Philip at Windsor Castle. Since then, she has taken part in virtual engagements via video chat, and the only time she's been seen in public officially were on the grounds of the castle. This was her last public appearance on Commonwealth Day, before the virus took its grim toll on the UK.
Interesting listening to all your tales.
But she kept busy during the pandemic, even making a surprise appearance on Zoom, kept up her political contacts via phone, and in isolation, the pomp and circumstance came to her, including the knighting of Captain Sir Tom, the fundraising veteran.
And now it's doubling itself again, isn't it?
Today's outing is unlikely to become a regular thing.
I think today's was probably a bit of a one-off. I don't think we'll be seeing a lot more of her on public engagements.
With COVID rates on the rise, there is uncertainty, even for the Queen.
And no one knows what's going to come next, I think.
Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
She's right. You don't know what's going to come next, and you just never know what you're going to find at a garage sale. How about an old, undeveloped roll of film filled with pictures of the Johnny Cash in Newfoundland? The moment, next.
You ever regret having a crazy mom?
Mom, these are my friends.
I'll show you how to play a real drinking game!
What kind of stupid question is that?
Many Newfoundlanders are well aware the great Johnny Cash spent time there back in the early 60s, but never before seen photographs show a whole new side to Cash's visit. An undeveloped roll of film was discovered at a garage sale, and when the person who found it realized what he had unearthed, he gave it to the son of Cash's late Canadian manager, who's also in those pictures. His journey down memory lane is our moment.
I first heard about the Johnny Cash moose hunt while researching my documentary about my dad and Johnny Cash. However, I only really had dates and very few details. Color photos of the trip had been online for a couple of years and are quite popular, but I was contacted for the first time roughly 2 months ago by a fellow named Glenn Chator, who is a collector, and came across negatives. I believe it was at a garage sale. I'd never seen photographs of Johnny Cash hunting in this manner, but also there are shots of concerts where he's performing from what appears to be a wrestling ring. Johnny performed from some pretty unusual places, but I had never seen anything quite like that.
Wow, so that's super cool. A really neat piece of history. And, you know, another one of the big mysteries is that they don't know, of course, who took the photographs. And they think, you know, because of how professional they look, maybe it's some magazine photographer, but who knows?
Well, we are starting to learn, though, why this happened. So Johnny Cash, it seems, Saul wasn't his original manager, but he decided to take him on a 10-day hunting trip to Newfoundland just to impress him enough to become the manager. It sounds like a That is a national for October 15th. Good night.
Good night.